Good evening. Welcome to this evening's edition of the Vision Root video blog. Tonight's episode is, was President Kennedy really assassinated by Lee Harvey Oswald? I'd like to begin with scripture reading from Psalm 55. But what about those people who are cruel and brutal? You will throw them down into the deepest pit long before their time. I trust you, Lord. So this evening's topic is a very pertinent one. And just recently, President Trump released the thousands of pages from the that had been classified about President John F. Kennedy's assassination, and I would like to talk about that a little bit in tonight's installment. So let's check on some of those points right now. Okay, this is an article from Zero Hedge about some of the files that were in those 3,000 pages released, and now there's been more released too. The one paragraph that you need to read from the JFK assassination files that may change everything. So the narrative has been, as we know, that a single shooter, Lee Harvey Oswald, let me expand this a little, I guess you can't see all of it. Single shooter Lee Harvey Oswald shot President Kennedy from the rear. But actually, you know, as we can, you know, see in this article here, that's not actually what happened. If we go back here and look at the article, we see in this memo, it talks about there's a meeting of this person, Orrin Fenton Potito, who is talking about the Surgeon General's report. Potito said that the Surgeon General's report on the assassination stated that the first bullet entered the president's throat below the Adam's apple, clearly showing that two persons were involved, with the first shot being fired from the bridge across the parkway in front of the car. To further substantiate this, Potito said there was a bullet hole in the windshield of the president's car. And then if you read this description down here, it talks about how at least 6 different people saw the car and that there was actually a bullet hole in the windshield, indicating that President Kennedy had been shot by the front. And that, you know, the bullet that killed him was shot from the front. And it basically, you know, blew his head off. But the narrative has been that it was shot from the rear, and even if you look into it, then so it's mind-boggling that many people say that actually even the Zapruder video, the one that shows the president, you know, his motorcade moving along, actually was doctored, was actually changed. So you can actually, you know, find that if you, you know, look at it more clearly. And if you look at some of these different things, like what I'm showing here, you can see about what we're talking about. Okay, here we see the Zapruder video of President Kennedy's motorcade. So we see this is a well-known video. We see the president here. We see he's shot there from the front, it says. But they're all saying he was shot by just one person, Lee Harvey Oswald, and then he shot again. So actually, when you look at the different information that you see online, you can see that this video even has been changed just to make the narrative that it was only shot from the behind, because actually many witnesses, so as I was saying, many witnesses said that the car had actually stopped. And they're saying, like this person saying, Richard Charnan rather, that actually some there were 59 witnesses, and some 33 of them said that the car came to a full or virtually full stop. And you see in the video there that the car never stops. And so that basically the probability that all these witnesses were wrong is basically 0. Let's see, 1 in 583 billion. So the narrative has been completely changed around. So they were our very own government was promoting this falsehood for all these years, and they were calling people who said that wasn't the case, you know, conspiracy theorists or whatever. But actually, there are many people, if you study people who know about films and know about all these things, that the film, that Zapruder film, has been doctored, and we see even in these papers that were released that these things were lied about. So then the question is, if they're lied about, why? Who really did kill Kennedy? And if you read and understand, you see the fact that this vehicle greatly slowed down or came to a stop. And in the original film, it clearly showed that, but that was taken out. And that even someone on the side was signaling for the car to stop. That greatly increased the danger for President Kennedy. So it seems that the Secret Service was complicit in the president's assassination. Wow! So we're learning these things through these papers, and those are coming out clearly that these kind of things happen. And who would benefit from that? That would be the people like the bankers and people who didn't like Kennedy. For instance, Kennedy was working to dismantle the Fed system. He had issued an executive order, 11110, saying they should print silver certificates. And that was not part of the Federal Reserve System, for instance. So he really wanted, and he had given a speech in 1961 clearly saying that he wanted the United States citizens to be free. The very word secrecy is repugnant in a free and open society. And we are, as a people, inherently and historically opposed to secret societies, to secret oaths, and to secret proceedings. We decided long ago that the dangers of excessive and unwarranted concealment of pertinent facts far outweigh the dangers which are cited to justify it. For we are opposed around the world by a monolithic and ruthless conspiracy that relies on covert means for expanding its spheres of influence, on infiltration instead of invasion, on subversion instead of elections, on intimidation instead of free choice, on guerrillas by night instead of armies by day. It is a system which has conscripted vast human and material resources into the building of a tightly knit, highly efficient machine that combines military, diplomatic, intelligence, economic, scientific, and political operations. Its preparations are concealed, not published. Its mistakes are buried, not headlined. Its dissenters are silenced, not praised. No expenditure is questioned, no rumor is printed, no secret is revealed. Wow! So this is an, incredible speech by President Kennedy. And then, who would benefit by this? Well, who became president? Lyndon Johnson. So Lyndon Johnson, even I myself was writing about recently, Johnson, he spoke at Howard University, or one of my past blogs, I wrote about it. Here it is right here, A War on Poverty. Johnson said what sounded like some good words. Unless we work to strengthen family, to create conditions under which most parents will stay together, all the rest, schools and playgrounds and public assistance and private concern, will never be enough to cut completely the circle of despair and deprivation. That sounds pretty good, right? And then, but Johnson really was a two-faced liar. He was a racist. So if you look at the quotes Johnson talked about, what other things did Johnson say? He said this. Even though he signed the Civil Rights Act, it was a very expedient thing for him to do. He said, "These Negroes, they're getting pretty uppity these days, and that's a problem for us since they've got something now they never had before, the political pull to back up their uppityness. Now we've got to do something about this. We've got to give them a little something, just enough to quiet them down, not enough to make a difference." So LBJ's Great Society and the welfare state eviscerated black families. And really, you see the result of that now 50 years later. Look what's going on. If at that time 25% of families were born out of wedlock, now it's 75%. So Johnson was the ultimate racist. So the question is, why do black people generally, most black people, vote Democratic? Good question. I don't know why. And then what about Johnson? He was well known for using the N-word, and he's also attributed as having said, I'll have those niggers voting Democrat for 200 years. Wow. Johnson. And who became president when Kennedy was assassinated, apparently assassinated by a conspiracy and coup in our own government? Johnson. And then who even one of our future presidents, like who was in Texas also, George Herbert Walker Bush, he eventually became head of the CIA. For like a year, he was the head of the CIA. So you see all these things coming out now. And who is bringing this stuff out? Trump. And then you see all this crazy backward stuff happening. So our own government is pushing this crazy narrative on us, saying that, you know, this guy Oswald shot Kennedy, which is clearly false. Whereas if you study, you'll see that the videos of the Zapruder video was doctored, that the car he was in stopped, greatly increasing the opportunity for him to be assassinated. That very mysteriously, some 21 people who had testified to the Warren Commission, that's a commission that investigated the assassination, they mysteriously died of unnatural causes. All kinds of stuff happening. So this is incredible, and Trump is bringing this stuff out by releasing these documents, all these secret dealings. So we see really getting more and more understanding of what's actually going on, you know, and this is just an incredible time we're living in. So I urge you to really look at the facts, look at the truth, and this whole thing about Johnson and his attitude towards, you know, civil rights, just thinking that, oh, he passed the civil rights bill, but the guy's a complete racist. And what's resulted from the so-called Great Society is a complete collapse and destruction of the black community in many ways. I mean, look at what's going on, you know. So people really need to wake up and realize what's going on. So I just really wanted to speak out about that. This is a little different than my usual vlogs, but just incredible to think that, you know, there was an assassination of a duly elected president of the United States, and now this is coming out, that this has been covered up for like 54 years, although many people have worked on it and said there were so many things that, you know, couldn't possibly be true, yet this has been the narrative that's been pushed. So what else is being pushed, you know? And even this narrative that Johnson was somehow, and these Democrats are great heroes of the black man, is complete bullcrunky. So wow, I urge you to really think about what's going on, really study about it, really open your eyes and ears. So I'm really thankful to President Trump for releasing those documents and helping me wake up and study this more and look more into these things, you know, that a lot of people just accept as the general what's going on. We really need to look beyond the mainstream media, where we'll see them saying about the papers released, nothing here, just move along. Yeah, there's plenty there. And a lot more, I'm sure, is going to come out yet. So I'm grateful to present this look into the Kennedy assassination and into the taking power by Lyndon Baines Johnson, the racist President Johnson. And I hope we can all wake up and come into a new paradigm. I do also want to urge you to attend our Star Interfaith Leadership Training coming up. We're going to talk about a paradigm where you will learn about basically the benefits of sexual abstinence and the scriptural and the practical reasons why that's beneficial. Remember, if you are not practicing and promoting a framework that promotes sexual abstinence, and also if you're a parent, your kids aren't aware of that, then they are being influenced by this world. And we know this is not a world that promotes sexual abstinence. So this is Richard Urban. I'm pointing to you from historic Harpers Ferry, West Virginia. I hope you will be blessed. Until next time, good night.